Hey friend, Graham here from recordingrevolution.com. So earlier this week, I released a brand new course called Perfect Vocal Takes with the incredible vocal coach, Chris Liepe. We've been getting an incredible response on the course so far, so I just wanted to say thank you. And if you haven't gotten your copy, well, I'll tell you more about how to get access to it at the end of this video. But what I want to do right now is bring Chris back on to teach you more about vocals. Specifically, he's going to teach you the difference between vocals when performing them live versus when performing in the studio. And for his demonstration, he's going to be using one of my favorite vocalists of all time, Chris Cornell. Take it away, Chris.
Hey, Chris Liepe here. Thanks again, Graham, for having me on the channel. Today we're talking about the all-important differences between live vocals and studio vocals. These two worlds are completely separate in the minds of serious vocalists, particularly those vocalists who record regularly. The more you work in the studio and the more you work live, the more you realize how very different your mindset is, how very differently you sing between these two worlds. And in order to help ground the understanding of the differences, I want to take a look at a 90s performance of Spoon Man by Soundgarden. Nobody understood the differences between studio recording of vocals and the live performance of vocals, in my opinion, better than 90s Chris Cornell. Because the vocals on Super Unknown, that whole album, are so incredible. They're so meticulously done as well. And unpacking this 90s performance of Spoon Man from Chris Cornell, which I believe is one of his finest live performances of the song, by the way, is going to help us not only conceptualize the differences, but really hear the differences, and then take what we hear and put those to practical use in our voice and in our approach the next time we go to record. Now, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about may seem, on a surface level, very obvious, but try to go deeper with me in terms of examining your own voice in the context of what I'm saying. For example, when recording Super Unknown, Chris Cornell would often use an entire day to record one, maybe two songs on that album. Also, you notice loads of background vocals and doubles and ad-lib vocals here and there, depending on the track. Particularly in a song like Spoon Man, there's lots going on. There's lots of production elements. There's lots of vocal production elements that are going on. So if we have the expectation of our voice that we need to be able to replicate live what we do in the studio, we are really cheating ourselves out of an incredible opportunity for our studio vocals, and we're setting ourselves up for failure when we go to perform that song live. We all know and probably have access to the studio recording of Spoon Man, but listen to a little bit of Cornell's approach live here. Okay, the sound is very different, right? It's live. Of course, the production elements aren't there, but he's still hitting the notes. Even right there, still hitting the notes. Goes all the way up to that D5. A save! There's a thinness to what he does live. There's a darkness even to what he's doing live. What we need to pull away from this initial sequence is that when we're approaching vocals live, we not only have a whole song to get through, we have a whole set to get through, usually. We don't have the luxury of going through with a fine-tooth comb, line by line, and considering how we're going to approach, doing lots of different takes to figure out what translates best with the band that's also in the studio setting. When we're performing live, we're performing to an audience in a linear fashion. We have a responsibility to that audience to get through whatever we're doing in an entertaining and engaging way. When we are in the studio, our audience, while we're performing in the studio, is the recorded medium. It is the Pro Tools session, or it is whatever session you're using, the tape machine, whatever. And the eventual performance that people hear is the deliverable, right? The finished mixed song. That's the thing that's going to live forever. Whereas the live performance, the thing that's going to live forever is the impact, particularly for those people that are at the concert. It's the impact that performance overall had. And so going back to this short example from Cornell, he is thinner, he is darker, he is focusing on the overall delivery, and it's still 100% acceptable for being live. But if he were to take this same mindset and go, okay, we're going to get through the song, we're going to, I've got to be able to sing the song start to finish, and I want to get in this live vibe, and then take that to the studio, we would not have the recordings that we have today of any of those songs off of Super Unknown or anything he's ever done. Because what he's doing in the studio is singing a portion of the song, listening back and reacting to what he's doing, getting to know the exact vibe he needs for that particular version of the song, which is the studio version. Particularly on the albums Super Unknown and Down on the Upside, Cornell had the opportunity to track his own vocals. They wheeled the tape machine into the control room, and he was the one backing it up, making those decisions, doing things the way he wanted to do, and not having any other really input. And then when he was done, the producer, Michael Beinhorn, would come in and comp and, choose the best of what he did. And that, of course, had Cornell's stamp of approval. Beinhorn said on multiple occasions that, Cornell's judgment and discernment with his studio performed vocals was spot on every time. And this brings me to another core difference that we need to consider with our voices. If we are going through with a fine-tooth comb in the studio and really deciding what's best in every situation during a song, something we can't do live, the other side of this is we don't have the vocal energy to exert the same way we do in the studio live, particularly if we're doing a whole set. So not only does live affect our decision-making, it actually affects how we look at our vocal budget. If we have a long set to sing, we're not going to be doing things that are extra challenging and maybe tiring for our voice. But if we're in the studio and we have the ability to punch in and out and try different things, it's okay if we're tired after one song. If we've been singing for 3 or 4 hours on a song and then we need a break, that's no big deal. We're learning, we're figuring things out. We don't have that luxury live. But it's amazing how many vocalists I work with that don't go into either camp with the right perspective. They either go into the studio thinking, I've got to, this is the way I've always done it live. We're going to knock it out. This is going to be great. Or they go live after having spent time in the studio and go, man, I just cannot live up to what I'm doing live based on what I did in the studio. And then they work into this self-defeat mindset, this discouragement mindset. If they get really sore, they burn out their voice live. So let's use a practical one-liner Cornelian example here. And let's use the basis of the live performance compared to what he does in the studio for comparison. So if we've got a save me, we're just going to do that right there. And this can go beyond to all areas of the way we approach our voices live versus the studio. If I know that I've got to get through the whole song, I'm going to make those higher notes thinner. Save me! Still going to work on the tone and be conscious of that. Save me! Save me! That provides for much more longevity. If I am going to be in the studio and I want to capture a moment of really good intensity, I'm going to be totally fine with gritting that up more. Even if I'm doing grit correctly, even if I'm doing it correctly, it still takes away more from my vocal budget than if I'm clean. That's just common, and it's common and totally okay. So if I'm going to go for a studio version of this, and I can take a break and, budget along several takes, instead of save me, I'm going to go save me. I'm going to play with it. I'm going to try to get the right timbre out of it. Save with your hands, with your hands. Maybe that's too gritty. Save me. Save! There, I like that sound. Hit record and capture that, right? Live, I'm always in this mode. Save me! Save me! Letting some grit happen incidentally, that's totally fine. But I'm really going for the exact timbre, tonality, combination of grit. I'm going for all of that stuff when I'm in the studio. I repeat, I'm not doing that live. I am focused on the global performance aspect, gelling with the band, singing to the audience, engaging with everybody around me. Whereas in the studio, I am engaged in the recorded medium. I'm engaged in the moment that is the studio recording. Let's do just a little bit more listening to drive this point home. Thin. Save. Okay, there's a lot more. I wouldn't say it's tentative. There's just different decisions being made because he's got the guitar in his hand. He's got a lot more going on right now than just figuring out what's exactly right for each individual part of the song. I hope these perspectives were helpful for you and that you'll be encouraged the next time you go into either a studio situation or a live situation that A, it's okay to, spend a ton of time in the studio working on something to be just perfect. And B, hold yourself to an entirely different standard and discipline when you're singing live. We'll see you for more.
So I hope you enjoyed that awesome video. Like I said earlier, Chris and I have released a brand new course together called Perfect Vocal Takes. And in this course, Chris walks you through step by step how to deliver and record world-class vocals in your home studio. You see, the difference between the pro vocalists that you hear on the radio and maybe where you are right now isn't vocal ability, at least not most of the time. Honestly, the main difference most of the time is that these pro vocalists have a strategy to make their vocals sound incredible every single time. Once you have this strategy, your vocals are going to sound 10 times better. This includes everything from getting into the right mental zone before recording, getting the best performances out of yourself, working the microphone, and setting up a vocal chain of effects that makes your vocals sound world-class. In this course, Chris teaches you all of that. So if you're a vocalist or you're going to be recording vocals in your song, you gotta watch this course first. This course is also for producers and engineers who want their clients to sound as amazing as possible. To learn more about everything that's in the course, just go to recordingrevolution.com/vocals. I hope to see you in the course.